Mental health and wellness best practices, right now on the Leadership Voice. Welcome to the Leadership Voice. I'm your host, Jay Barbuto. Today's theme is mental health and wellness, and we have some great leaders to share best practices with us. Joining us are Heather Falcone, former CEO of Thermal-Vac Technology, Joe Holsinger, Senior Market Executive at Merrill Lynch, and Regina Johnson, Chief Human Resource Officer at MarketCast. We also have an insightful leadership lesson by Dr. Phoenix von Wagner. Some great ideas and practices are coming up, but let's start things off with our quote of the day. Today's quote comes from internet.game. Transparency in discussing mental health issues cultivates an environment of care. Our first guest today is Heather Falcone. Heather is a leader, speaker, writer, and board member with 22 years of experience in people leadership and operations. As the former CEO of Thermal-Vac Technology, she is a passionate advocate for fair chance hiring, ethical workplace practices based in transparency and success for the small business community. Please welcome to the show, Heather Falcone.
Hey Jay, how's it going?
Glad to have you on the show to share your wisdom and insights around mental health and wellness. Let's go ahead and start things off. Perhaps you could share why you're passionate about mental health and wellness.
I'm passionate because I am a person who has struggled with mental health. Every person has faced a challenge in their life that fits in the mental health bucket. I had maybe more than one. I had a really challenging upbringing, and it culminated in a suicide attempt at age 19, and I never looked back from that. Embracing mental health and making sure that our workplaces and society all work together to keep humans healthy is a true passion of mine.
So if organizations were watching this and they were sort of thinking, why is this important? What would you tell folks? Why is it so important for organizations to put a little bit more focus on mental health and wellness?
Well, what I think is interesting, Jay, is that we forget that a whole human comes to work every day. We've created this societal expectation and series of behaviors called professionalism, and in no way does that align with our true authentic selves. So we've automatically created a cognitive dissonance. It just doesn't add up for most people coming to work every day. We have to make sure that we embrace a whole human, and through initiatives at a capitalism-based workplace, which is tough, right? We're in it to, make profit and keep the engine going. But understanding that that engine is powered by people is why we have to make the commitment, because otherwise it's going to go straight to the bottom line before we know it.
So organizations that are overlooking these things, it's going to be harder for them to attract and keep good people.
Not only that, but people that aren't happy don't produce work. So even though we might not be able to attract or retain, what we've got working for us is that humans want to be there. They want to spend more time with us at a workplace than maybe they do with their own family. And we have a duty and obligation to respect and cherish that.
So what are some of the programs that you rolled out while you were at Thermal-Vac?
Starting from the very beginning, flexible workplaces. And I'm talking true flexibility, to where if I come in and all of a sudden my kid is sick, I'm not faced with that look from my boss that says, oh. That's the first thing we initiated. Okay, no problems, no questions asked, no fault attendance policy, no points, nothing punitive. Then we move into holistic matters, like we hosted our own AA meetings because that was an affinity group that we needed at our workplace. So focusing on affinity groups that come from your team, not what management thinks an affinity group is. That's what we chose to implement. We had peer-to-peer training that was done by folks with lived experience that matched the person entering the workforce. As a fair chance employer, we hired folks experiencing homelessness, extreme poverty, addiction, maybe experiencing the criminal justice system. Those folks come into our workplace terrified. So building holistic programs to support them through financial advocacy and literacy programs, GEDs, anything that we can do to wrap around them and say, hey, you belong here, you are a part of our team.
So what were some of the impacts of some of the programs that you did? What were some of the results?
Well, just interesting enough, when we went to the 4-day work week, because we pulled our workforce, we increased our production rate 91% year over year. Magic.
A lot of people would assume that that would not be the case.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any other outcomes that came from focusing more on mental health and wellness?
Well, we're talking about bottom line impact. You're talking about reducing costs. So absenteeism went down over 50%. We reduced our overtime hours by over 40%. And we increased our bottom line revenue over 30% year over year, just in a single year of advocating for our team members.
So you can make a pretty good business case for creating a safer workplace.
A business case and a people case. People do business with people. And that's just the way it is.
So of all the programs that you saw rolled out and that you've been a part of, which one do you think is the most impactful of all mental health and wellness programs?
The most impactful was preparing our management team to lead with authenticity and kindness. Teaching them how to react to humans being humans so that they don't experience this pain, I don't even know how to explain it, but you know that vibe. I know you've experienced it, where you walked in your boss office and you're a little bit scared. You don't know. Teaching our managers not to do that and just chill. Just hang with your team member.
And how to create that culture, that kindness, that warmth, the safety.
What do you think about that word? I feel like culture got such a negative connotation, so I haven't been using culture, but we do have to remember that word is our responsibility as business owners.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show and sharing your insights with our viewers.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You'll stick around for our panel here in just a few minutes?
Absolutely.
Terrific.
I love it.
It's now time for a featured segment of the Leadership Voice. It's today's Did You Know? Today's Did You Know comes from Mental Health Foundation. Mental illness affects 19% of adults, 46% of teenagers, and 13% of children each year. If that middle number doesn't alarm you, it should. People struggling with mental health are closer than you think, and the future of human capital in the workplace will require more mental health and wellness strategies than ever before. It's now time for today's Leadership Countdown. Today's countdown comes from DiscoveryMoodAndAnxietyProgram.com. We bring you the 10 warning signs your employees may be struggling with their mental health. Number 1, they have an unhealthy or unkept appearance. Number 2, they display mood swings or erratic behavior. Number 3, they are easily frustrated or angered. Number 4, they need and take a lot of time off of work. Number 5, they display a visible change in eating or sleeping behaviors. Number 6, they display moments of confusion or an inability to solve problems. Number 7, they demonstrate unnecessary fear or anxiety. Number 8, they have a noticeable decrease in productivity. Number 9, they withdraw from social situations, especially with coworkers. And the 10th warning sign is they appear to abuse drugs, alcohol, or other vices. If you see any of these warning signs, it could mean that your employee may be suffering and may need both care and urgency. Don't go anywhere. We have Joe Holsinger in the studio right after a word from the Giles O'Malley Center for Leadership. The Bringing Learning to Work program is our way of connecting the faculty of Cal State Fullerton with the business community of Orange County and Southern California. We have over 72 training programs that are available via distance or face-to-face. And the faculty come to your company and they deliver the training to your employees.
The Bringing Learning to Work program is really fundamentally, it's leadership programming. We do diversity and emotional intelligence training. We partner with Cal State Fullerton because they had subject matter experts in these fields. And we're really fortunate and privileged to be able to do that.
Many companies can't afford training and development personnel. And so this is a great opportunity to leverage Cal State's faculty to help them develop their learning programs.
The leadership of the center and the students allow me to not only bring leadership development to my company, but allow me to interact with some amazing students who have grit, potential, and just amazing futures in front of them, and I get to take part of that. It's a wonderful feeling.
When your organization is ready to develop its talent, reach out to the Center for Leadership, and we'll help get you there. Welcome back to the Leadership Voice. Our next guest is Joe Holsinger. Joe Holsinger heads Merrill Lynch's Wealth Management, a Bank of America company for Orange County. With over 30 years of financial advisory and executive experience, Joe has built an award-winning team leading over 300 financial advisors in offices across the county. Please welcome to the show, Joe Holsinger.
Thank you, Jay. Delighted to be a student back on campus for a day.
It's great to have you. So tell us, why is mental health and wellness such a priority for Bank of America?
You know, Jay, the mental health and wellness of our employees has been a priority for many years. We think about employees wanting to have lifetime employment with our firm, and we really have to be able to do three things very, very well. One, we have to pay them fairly so they can provide for their families. The second, that we have to invest in them and help them in their development become their best. And the third, that we have to provide robust benefits for their mental, personal health and for their families so that they have comfort and security. And if we do that well, it's a very competitive environment nationally, as you can know, but if we do that well, we feel like that we will have employees for a lifetime.
And so investing in employees, it's a worthwhile investment, isn't it?
Well, we feel like it pays dividends, and it has been doing well for many years for us.
So when did Bank of America start to really focus heavily on mental health and wellness types of programming and strategies?
You know, as I think back, it's, as you said, 30-year plus career, but most notably, back in 2014, there was this landing on the Hudson, the plane that lost its engines, and we had a number of employees that were impacted. And at that time, we put them in hotel rooms and we helped them with any counseling based on the trauma. But we decided at that time, this is a solution and a service that we ought to have that's available to all employees. And back then, we hired 50 professionals from a variety of occupations. That's grown to 150 today. And I'll talk more about that as we get into some of the benefits. But then I saw it even build more. For example, if we look back, rewind the tape to COVID, and all of the emotional impact and the needs that our employees had, and we wanted to be that resource, and we made investments there, and they have obviously continued to this day and expanded.
So if an organization is able to create an environment that's maybe a little more safe, maybe it's a little more welcoming, maybe it's a little bit more of a spot where they can feel more comfortable, what's the return on that for the company?
I mean, anecdotally, for me, what I see is it builds loyalty. All right, people feel like we care, because when people experience crisis, it's oftentimes the first time that they've had it, and there's a degree of urgency where they need help. And we are, through our leadership team, trained and able to not necessarily diagnose, but be able to help them connect, and then have that intake assist them with the expertise that they need in a timely fashion that can remedy what would otherwise be a crisis.
So could you talk a little bit about some of the strategies and programs that Bank of America has rolled out and is operating to assist employees with their mental health and wellness journeys?
Sure, Jay. I mean, as I think about ours, it's pretty much like a three-legged stool. So the first is more of disparate, maybe proactive means where employees can gain access to overall wellness using technology. The second would be an employee assistance program. The third is our life event services. And so if we think about the first leg on the stool, it's a series of apps, webs, even community kind of sessions where folks can call in and participate in an employee-led discussion around things of family welfare or their balance and moods and mental health in general. But as it gets more acute, it requires a more customized and bespoke level of assistance. And so that would be our second leg, which is the Employee Assistance Program. And the way to think about that is it's allowing an intake individual to be able to connect them with professionals outside and have 12 counseling sessions per incident. And so what we've found is when folks are struggling, we can immediately put them in touch in person or via remote, where they can get the help that they need for whatever they or their family might need at that time. And then the last piece would be the life event services. And for us, maybe not everybody has a plane that goes down over the Hudson, but in my experience in Florida, California, you've got hurricanes, we've got fires, we have people that have needs, you've got domestic violence. This is a point in time where we're able to take, in a very tactile and expeditious way, take in and then connect them to resources or provide resources as a company that simplifies and expedites their need.
And so in a lot of ways, the role of leaders and the role of supervisors and managers and the organization as a whole is going to be understanding the resources that are available and being able to connect folks to the needs that they may have, like you said, almost in a bespoke kind of way.
That's exactly the way it works. We have 12 managers in our county here, and each one of them has direct reports. And our duty is to have relationships with each of them. And serendipitously, shortly after learning I was going to be, speaking with you, I heard from one of my managers who had assisted an employee in a domestic issue where they needed immediate help, restraining orders, et cetera. And we were able to connect them to life event services. And he thanked me in the elevator bank yesterday for the help for his son, who's 11, and for him personally.
That must be rewarding to know that you're not just helping people with investments, but you're helping them with life as well.
I mean, look, business results are why we're here. We have to deliver for shareholders, but our assets, our most valuable asset, rides up and down the elevator every day. And so how we take care of them is really where I get my most fulfillment.
So what role should leaders expect or prepare to play in the mental health and wellness arena at their company or in their organizations?
I mean, the role, Jay, you never can identify exactly what that is, but I think foundationally, we have to recognize that we have to have awareness of what the benefits are. So many times employees don't know the benefits and they exist. And so our leadership team has an awareness of the benefits and can take a very proactive interest in that employee to be that conduit, that connector, not the expert, but the connector to the resources. And we have found that that's very effective in shortening the time frame from discovery of the issue to identification and resolution, and that helps the wellness and the welfare of our employee.
And that'll lead to leaders that are able to provide much better support to their team.
I think that is exactly what we hope to achieve.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're going to have you back here in just a little while with our leadership panel, so you'll stick around.
It's my pleasure. I'll stay as long as you like. Thank you.
It's now time for our leadership example. Today's leadership example comes from Indeed.com. We bring you 9 emotional and mental health benefits you should offer to your employees. Don't go anywhere. We have Regina Johnson coming up next. Welcome back to the Leadership Voice. Our next guest is Regina Johnson. As the Chief Human Resource Officer, Regina Johnson leads all MarketCast human resources and people initiatives, including shaping employee experience, driving talent management, and building diversity and inclusion strategy with its global team. Please welcome to the show, Regina Johnson.
Thanks so much for having me, Jay. It's great to see you again.
Thanks for joining us on the show. Maybe you could share when or why did you become passionate about mental health and wellness?
Great question. Well, with mental health and wellness, that's been shaped in my life in my formative years. And probably the most significant one was when I was in college. In college, we were seeing a high suicide rate that was happening amongst college students. And the sad thing was there wasn't a lot of mental health capabilities, any types of resources available for students. So what me and a couple of fellow students did was create a nighttime peer crisis line to start to address that need. And so that's been part of kind of who I have been, and it's just continued on into the work that I do, which is all things people, right? Within organizations and within businesses and within the communities. So it's a common thread for me.
And so you've taken that desire to be a resource and to be of assistance and to make a difference, a positive difference, and you've taken that right into your career.
Absolutely. When I think about the shift, I studied psychology and wanted to understand the attributes of the mind and the body. It's gone into the people side on human resources and how do people do their best work within companies and organizations. The ability to tap into that potential of people, ensure that they have the best access to different levers and resources so that they're doing their best work, leads to better business outcomes, but it also leads to thriving employees.
So let's talk about MarketCast. Why is it so important for MarketCast to focus more and emphasize mental wellness?
So MarketCast is a research and insights firm, and we help our clients understand fandom. And fandom is creating the ultimate experience for a person or an individual. So it means we have to get to the heart of what people care about most. What are their drivers? What are their motivators? And that in and of itself is not an easy feat, right, to understand as it relates to humans. Humans are complex beings. So it means that our people, our talent, have to be really, really in tune with the work. And so when we think about their success on being in tune with the end consumer, creating those insights, being able to advise their clients on the best recommendations, we need to make sure that they feel like they are in a position to create those insights, do their best work, and they have what they need at their disposal to thrive.
And so what are some of the programs that you've seen at MarketCast that are really starting to address these things and make a difference?
So for us at MarketCast, one of the biggest things, we're a growing company and a growing organization, and that means there's a lot of change that's going on. So we take a holistic approach around core benefits, in terms of accessibility, to things that are going to help them with their core health and wellness, as well as additional EAP programs. But we also have augmented with supplementary education and advocacy programs. So we have a partnership, as an example, with Modern Health, which helps ensure that we have additional access to mental health capabilities, as well as coaching. Coaching is actually a core component as part of our wellness strategy as well. And the reason that that's so important is that's an extra component where people have a safe space to be able to test off ideas as they think about their career and then implement that into solutions. And so a coaching capability, not just in terms of a private way, but also with how our leaders coach, further supplements the way in which they can essentially do their work. So we have multiple partnerships with core benefits, ancillary benefits, and then it's also how we design our programs and workplace. We have flexible work arrangements. We have a hybrid workforce. We also ensure that we have various programs that deal with various life events, disasters. We have policies to enable people to ensure that they can take the time off that they need if there's a disaster or a situation that happens with an essential life event. And in addition, We have the ability for certain jobs and roles to have flex time or different schedules to be able to work and get the work done, essentially.
And so what are the benefits to the company of doing these things for employees?
We found that by having these benefits, our employees have, number one, ensured that they're elevating up new ideas, new ways to innovate. They're actively engaging more in the process, right, on how to make our company better. And so when we think about what that means on their ability to see things on the ground, things that we can continue to improve and enhance, they're part of the solution. So it's a holistic approach, and they're contributing to the way in which we work and the way in which we continue to improve the workplace.
So what has been, in your estimation, the most impactful, innovative program that MarketCast has rolled out in this space?
I think there's two that really stick out for me. One has been how we have essentially thought through reskilling as we're preparing for the future of work, and we've really embedded along that journey fun into that skill building space so that there's advocacy and empowerment in the way that they're developing and they can see their career paths, and that gives them that sense of pride and ownership to be able to make those progress. And by the way, survey-wise for them, that was important. In addition, though, when we think about what it means to drive programs that will ensure their safety and security, we have heard very positive feedback on the policies that we have, supporting access to resources and funds, the education programs that we've been doing to ensure how people think through financial health, holistic health options, accessibility. Those things have really been received positively, and we know that they've made a difference in terms of the output and performance of our people and teams. We've reduced our absenteeism. We've actually been more efficient and productive in the way that our work has gotten done, which has helped our EBITDA profitability.
So in addition to improving morale and improving psychological safety for employees, it's also impacting in a positive way productivity and the bottom line.
Correct. We look at this in a holistic way. At the end of the day, if we are doing right by our people and we're able to ensure that we're removing obstacles, gaining access, creating ways in which they can continue to grow and develop, they're going to perform better. They're going to continue to want to be a part of the solution in how we grow as a company and as an organization, and the business obviously thrives, and so do our clients, and so do our communities.
So it also shows commitment to them as well in that process because we're investing in their wellness.
At the end of the day, our people really are our product. While we have tech enablement, while we have different capabilities, it's our people who are providing those insights. And so our ability to make sure that they're at their healthiest enables them to be able to do their best work.
I want to thank you, Regina, for joining us today, and you'll stick around because we're going to have our leadership panel here in just a few minutes.
Absolutely, happy to.
It's now time for our leadership lesson. Today, Professor Van Wagner will talk about mental health and wellness.
I am Dr. Phoenix Van Wagner. Welcome to today's leadership lesson, where strong minds make stronger leaders. Today, we're tackling a powerful tool for mental health and leadership, gratitude and generosity. You might think leadership is all about bold strategy and vision, and it is. But mental well-being is the foundation. Without it, even the sharpest leaders burn out. Let's start with gratitude. Researchers like Dr. Robert Emmons, a leading expert in the science of gratitude, have found that people who regularly practice gratitude report higher levels of happiness, optimism, and life satisfaction. Even better, they experience fewer symptoms of depression and anxiety. Think of gratitude like a brain gym. When you write down what you're thankful for, even just 3 things a day, it changes your focus. It rewires the brain to scan for positives rather than threats. That's a leadership superpower. Now pair that with generosity. Acts of kindness, whether it's mentoring a colleague or buying someone coffee, don't just benefit others, they help you. Research from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley shows that generosity reduces stress, increases feelings of social connection, and even strengthens your immune system. The takeaway? Gratitude and kindness aren't soft skills. They're smart strategies. They build resilience, deepen team trust, and make you a leader people want to follow. Keep a daily gratitude journal and do one unexpected kind act each day, no matter how small. Your brain and your team will thank you. I'm Dr. Phoenix, and this has been today's leadership lesson. Lead well, live well. See you next time.
We're back for our leadership panel. We have Heather Falcone, Joe Holsinger, and Regina Johnson back. Thank you each for joining us on our leadership panel. So the way this will work is we'll have 3 questions, and you'll each take turns going first, but you'll each have a chance to weigh in on each question. So the first question is going to be, we're going to start with Heather. As companies plan mental wellness strategies, what are the risks or faux pas that must be avoided?
I love this question because it speaks to the intentionality of why you want to do this in the first place. So one of the biggest faux pas that you can do, and what's going to take an initiative quickly, is going at it inauthentically. Going in it to improve your bottom line, to make you more money in your company. Team members are going to sense that, and they're going to know that it's not really about them, it's about you. So making it about your team and holistically and altruistically making sure that it is actually about them, that will help avoid that risk pretty quickly.
So motives and optics of motives really do matter in this process.
Absolutely.
To dovetail off of that, I also think don't pick the latest fad. There are a variety of different programs that can meet various different needs. Make sure you take the time to understand them and what's going to work for your organization and what's going to work well for your people. But don't just, look up on the internet and say, oh, this is the #1 program, so therefore it is going to solve what we have within our organization. That will not work well, or it won't be effective.
So not every program will work in every company.
That's correct. You're talking about human beings. We're complex.
Jay, I would say don't presume that your employees know all of the benefits that are out there. Never presume they know. And don't wait for them to ask for something in particular. We have a duty, I think, to really make available and introduce possible solutions that are at their disposal, whether they elect to take them or not, but never presume.
So sometimes it's better to communicate opportunities or services before they're needed rather than waiting until the needs are glaring.
And let them know you heard them, and I'm not sure that this is something that maybe you need at this point, but I want you to know this is available, and I'm here to help you in any way if I can provide more guidance.
Very good point.
Mm-hmm.
So our next question, Regina will go first, but you'll have a chance to weigh in on it. What are some of the most innovative mental health strategies that are in the works?
So I am excited that there's a lot of energy in this space. So we've seen a real surgence in technology platforms, creating more accessibility for folks at their own time. There's Health Joy, there's Modern Health, there's a variety of different programs where people can access in addition to the regular healthcare benefits as well as EAP programs. However, I think what I'm most excited about are additional ways in which mental health is being supported in a more holistic manner. So these are different types of practitioners who are focusing in on various forms of holistic mental health and wellness. So they may be a life guide as an example, so they're integrating not just areas that may be affecting one part of mental health, but there may be other components. There are different clinicians that are creating consortiums to aid in a diverse way of being able to tackle a problem with therapeutics, with coaching, as well as maybe nutritional support, as well as spiritual support. So we're seeing that start to take root. And then we're seeing some other types of organizations that are working solely with businesses to create and curate ways to understand how mental health is showing up within the workplace and what might be good individual action plans, as well as holistic types of policies or programs the company may want to be able to take advantage of. Velocity Advisory Partners is a good example who's doing some of that work around long-term burnout and how to help organizations build more resilience in their organization.
Okay, so these are lots of new, innovative ways. Essentially, we're talking about the future of mental health wellness programming. Heather, what are some of the new things you're seeing?
The new things, and I'm so glad that we're seeing them, is the understanding that humans are complex and they cover the broad spectrum. We are a true just rainbow of humanity. And before, maybe it was centered on folks that could seek therapy or could seek educational environment or something more traditional for mental health treatment and programs. But what I'm seeing now is we are willing to meet people where they are, to offer them different avenues to access these programs that come to them, as opposed to them being required to buy in or to expend energy to get into them. So it's much more proactive as opposed to reactive. And I think that switch is very key, and it's a part of what we're seeing with a possible increased engagement. If you don't have to go very far to find help, you're more likely to accept it. And you're more likely to identify that that route that was offered to you is the one that's going to work for you.
Joe?
I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but in my experience, to Heather's point, expediency and breadth and by enlisting technology, I think is the future. If we just wind back the tape to my own experience in 2020, in 24 hours, we took 3 floors of our employees and sent them home at a point in time where they were fearful, they were getting sick, they needed access to health care, and nobody wanted to leave their house. And so we were able, as many companies I know do, partner with external providers. We use Teladoc. And that gave access to medical care that we underwrote for our employees, and I truly believe it saved lives. And if we could say that we saved the lives of our employees, I think we've earned a debt of gratitude that could portray itself in behavior, productivity, and obviously loyalty.
And it seems as though when we look at the future, from what each of you have described, we're talking about a future that is more employee-centric. We're talking about a future that is more needs-centric, where employees aren't treated the same, but they're equally cared for.
That's a great way to say it. Mm-hmm.
All right, it's now time for the final word. This is where each of you have a chance to share one final piece of advice or pearl of wisdom, and you'll each have a chance. But Joe's going to go first. Joe, it's time for the final word.
I guess my final word, Jay, would be, as a leader, as a company in a leadership position, never underestimate our ability to diagnose by watching our employees who come to work, spend more than 60% of their lives with us, to help uncover whether or not they might need help for their own wellness, for their own welfare, and get curious with them. And that could end up being very beneficial to them over a sustained period of time.
Oh, that's great.
I'm going to piggyback off of what he said. The first thing that comes up to mind for me is be curious. The ability to really start to understand each individual, as well as then to see where patterns may emerge, ensures that you are then able to remove those barriers and obstacles. And again, work, productivity, everything starts thriving, right? And really kind of engaging. So be curious, listen, advocate. And none of those things, by the way, cost money.
Advocate is such a strong word to use. I love that. And it speaks to people do business with people. We are dealing with humans, and that respect and that obligation and responsibility must be taken at the highest level of seriousness. And in a crisis of inauthenticity, where we have a persona that is different from ourselves, understanding and recognizing that as leaders of organizations and making sure that we reflect back authenticity to create safety and to create engagement with our team so that they feel like they can truly participate in making the company what they want it to be.
And there you have the final word. I want to thank each of you for joining us on today's show and sharing your insights and wisdom with our viewers. If you have a question or need advice, connect with us by email, leadership@fullerton.edu, or on Instagram @CSUF-CFL. Thank you for tuning in to learn the best practices in mental health and wellness. Thanks to our guests, Heather Falcone, Joe Holsinger, and Regina Johnson for sharing your insights. Thank you to Dr. Phoenix von Wagner for delivering our leadership lesson. Join us each episode of The Leadership Voice, where industry professionals guide our thinking around important issues. I'm Jay Barbuto at the Giles O'Malley Center for Leadership at Cal State Fullerton, and we'll see you next time right here on The Leadership Voice.